Mind if I record too?
Great, welcome. Today we're talking about how to get support for your ideas and proposals. Got a lot of things going in the metaverse, a lot of things going in Ike, and so we've got this open discussion. We've got some panelists here, but open discussion for anyone with ideas or questions. And we can try and set up breakup rooms if people want one-on-one later. But for today, we're really talking about if you've got an idea or if you want to come up with an idea, how do you come up with that idea? How do you get in? How do you get support for that, including there's a TLM in some budgets. How do you go after that? So we're talking about various sources of support and funding. But since Dan has to go to another, actually, I think it's a funding meeting. We're not talking, got to watch the funding word, but Dan is going to a meeting to put in a proposal to get some funding for something else. That's why he has to go. But that I'll turn it over. Dan Singjoy is highly participating into a group called Optimism, which is trying to make the world a better place by providing support to people with great ideas for things like that. So your idea may support that. So Dan, how do you get support from sources you know about?
Yeah, well, it sounds great. Thank you, Eric. And I'm happy to discuss optimism and how I get support. So I am fairly new to the optimism community. I've been participating in lots of different Web3 communities, including Alien Worlds and Envelope communities for several years, and have found support in a variety of different platforms like Alien Worlds platforms or Alien Worlds planets and Pomelo and so forth. But this optimism opportunity, I really dived into it a lot over the past, I guess, 4 months or maybe 5 months, something like that now. And I've done a lot of work. I made several proposals to raise funding from Optimism, and I know a lot. I still haven't actually raised funding from Optimism yet, but I'm right now participating in a really big funding experiment, public goods funding experiment. So if it's okay with you, then I can share my screen and show you a little bit about what Optimism is, as well as the opportunities in the Optimism Collective to raise funding. And I see that I have permission to share my screen now, so I'll go ahead and I'll give you a little overview. Thanks, Eric. And thanks all for listening and being here. Hopefully you're all doing well. So Optimism Collective is a new type of community designed to reward public goods and build a sustainable future for Ethereum and for the open internet. They're really aligned, as Eric was saying, with rewarding public goods, people who are doing good things for everybody. And oftentimes in society, those don't get rewarded if people don't have a business model. So they're trying to make it so that people can build a business model by building better public, or by making positive impact and getting rewarded for that. They have this axiom called impact equals profit. So the more positive impact you can create, they want to provide profit for those people who can do so. So there's a page here, app.optimism.io, where it explains this, and there's a nice little image where you can learn more about it. And then there's a lot more details here. I'll just give you a high-level overview, but encourage you to go check it out. And you can also learn more about Optimism at optimism.io is just the main website. Optimism, for anybody who's not familiar, it's a layer 2 of Ethereum. Ethereum is one of the largest blockchains and Web3 ecosystems in the world. It's like a big supercomputer, basically, where people can run decentralized apps. It has many profoundly helpful benefits for communities and society and the world as a whole. And basically what Optimism is doing is it's scaling up Ethereum so it can work a lot faster and be cheaper and be more accessible for people, as well as oriented around funding public goods. So you can learn about optimism.io. There's a lot of details. They also have a super chain, which a lot of really big companies are using. They're building their own version of Optimism chains. They call them OP stack chains. So for example, OpenAI, the world's biggest AI company, is building their own blockchain, and they're working with Optimism as well as Coinbase, which is one of the biggest exchanges. So you can learn about that. There's a lot of opportunities all around the Ethereum ecosystem and in these other Optimism blockchains, but for now I'll just stick specifically with Optimism. That's what I'm most familiar with, and I think it's a really great opportunity just in the Optimism ecosystem alone. And then from there you can also branch out to other ecosystems that are aligned too. So a place where you can find like a high-level overview is in their doc section. So if you go to optimism.io and you go to the developer section and go to documentation, and then you search up here for funding. It's a little bit difficult to find, but that's basically how you do it. And then you can go and search for on the side here it says get a grant, and you can go to this page where it outlines 4 different types of grants that you can receive from the Optimism community. There's also other opportunities too. These are like the main ones offered by the Optimism Foundation, which is the foundation which organizes grants in the Optimism Collective. There's the Grants Council, which I'll speak a little bit about, where you can make proposals to build things and then get rewarded for that.
So Dan, can you kind of personalize that for people here? If I am building a social game or linking activity on Ike with carbon emissions, what kind of a thing would I be a candidate for getting something from Optimus? What kind of ideas that are working right now in this metaversal world we're in might fit this kind of support?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Eric. So it's basically anything that can help optimism in some way. You want to figure out a way to align your goals with the goals of the community that you're asking for funding for. And that's also a general principle as well. Like you can ask funding from the Ethereum Foundation. You want to figure out some way that your goals will also align and benefit Ethereum in doing so, while also benefiting your personal goals to build that game or to help out Planet Ike or help out the environment or whatever it is. And same for optimism. So you want to figure out some way to craft your proposal to fit within the needs and the ways that the proposal works.
If we were to make up an idea right now, what kind of idea, why would optimism care about Ike or alien worlds or dynamics of hegemony or Galactic Hub? Why might they be interested in any of those ideas?
So, I mean, well, for one thing, I could make up something which wouldn't be making up, but I did make a proposal for Optimism Fractal as a community that started. I see Rosemary's on the call right now, and we've been talking about this a lot at the Eden Fractal meetings too, where we actually made a proposal too, so I can go into that. And then in a similar way, if somebody's working with Planet Ike or building a game like Dynamics of Hegemony or something like that, they could find us some way to align their interests like we did with Optimism Fractal. Basically, with Optimism Fractal, we have these fractal communities that Eric and I participate a lot in, as well as Lisa and Gudasol and Rosemary, where people are playing consensus games to help each other, different kind of game. And we figured out a way to say, how can we align this game to make it help optimism, basically? So we started Optimism Fractal and specifically focus on helping optimism.
Trying to get a handle of what optimism like. For example, if I want to start a game that helps educate autistic kids, would that fit, for example, an optimism support?
Yeah, although you'd have to craft it in some way. We have to say, how is it benefiting the Optimism Collective specifically? Like you have to say, like, I mean, Optimism Collective wants to fund public goods in general in the whole world. And so they want to fund people who, help improve the air quality and help feed people around the world and stuff like that. But at the same time, they're well-resourced, but they have a limited amount of resources. So they also have to focus on things that particularly benefit optimism as well. So if you're trying to raise funds for the game, you have to figure out some way that it connects with optimism. And there's different kinds of grant opportunities too. So you have to like kind of read into the grant opportunities a little bit and see what they're looking for and figure out the right one that can most fit with what you're trying to build. And then from there, you can go and say, apply for the grant, and then say, here's how it also applies to help optimism goal as well. Does that answer your question, Eric? And there's also some more.
It's getting an idea. Like, no public goods, but I'm just trying to give people an idea. The question we're asking is this source worth looking at? And it depends what you're doing, right? So if you're just making a robot battle game by itself, that probably would not be the best candidate for this source of support. But if this support was supposed to teach high school kids or reduce loneliness or increase availability of housing or anything like that, then if I'm hearing you right, this might be a source for this type of support. Is that right?
Generally, yeah. I mean, in all cases, you still want to focus on tying into optimism in some way. So fighting homelessness is great, but also like if it could use the optimism blockchain to do so, or if it could at the same time be promoting optimism in some way. And then similarly, if you have a game that's just about robots like going and fighting and flying around the universe and like that, you could still apply for that with an optimism grant if it has some way that also promotes optimism as well. They want people to basically create public goods that are public for the world, but more specifically right now what they're focusing on is public goods for the Optimism Collective, so that they can also help their ecosystem, the Optimism Collective, as well. So if you're able to, for example, in your helping the world or in your creating a game, have some sort of either promotion for optimism, or it's using optimism tools, or it's drawing people to be interested in optimism in some way, then they'd be interested in funding a grant, or at least, or potentially interested in funding a grant, and that will help you achieve receiving a grant. And I would recommend anybody who has anything that they're doing that's really interesting, whether it be trying to house the homeless or building a cool game. Optimism is like, they have a lot of great tools, they have a lot of great community members, and they have a lot of funding too. So if there is some way that you can orient what you're doing to somehow include optimism a little bit here and there, then you can potentially find a good partner that can help you fund those things and help you build those things and achieve your goals.
And one of our goals when the Center for Governance is to help create a proposal support office, idea support, where people can help find paths like that. But is one path they can use right now to come to an optimism fractal? Is that where they might go to share an idea and see if it might fit to get help?
Yeah, for sure. That's one place where people can join. So I mentioned before that I made a proposal along with Rose Marie and a couple of great developers that we're working with to start a community called Optimism Fractal. We have a site called optimismfractal.com. We host weekly meetings every Wednesday at 17 UTC, which changes depending on your time zone. And these are meetings where anybody can join and basically learn about the Optimism Collective. We also post videos each week too, so people can either join and meet us. Was that, you say Monday? Did I say the time wrong?
Monday 17th.
Yep, thanks, Rosemary. And so Monday at 17 UTC, you can see a website where you have a little description about how people can, what we do is we play a consensus game or a public goods game that people could share what they're doing or share what they're interested in regarding the Optimism ecosystem, and learn from great builders in the Optimism ecosystem. We also have a Luma page at lu.mus/optimism fractal where people can register and learn more. And of course, you could feel free to reach out to me to learn more about it. And then in addition to actually joining the meetings, maybe just real quickly, I know I've been going for a while, I have a couple other tabs that I had up. If you did want to look in the documentation before reaching out, or you just want to just get acquainted with it, in this docs page, there's 4 different opportunities for grants council. You can propose missions, and there's also partner fund. And then the main thing that to do is retro PGF, retroactive public goods funding, which is basically the idea that you just do something that helps the optimism community, and then the Optimism Collective, there's like 150 badge holders, and they have a really interesting governance system where they give out funding retroactively based upon how you help the ecosystem. So currently they're giving out 30 million OP, which is worth like $45 million at the current price. And there's like 600 participants who are kind of competing in some way or collaborating to do that. And then I also have a bunch of articles. We started up a new site, the team that started Optimism Fractal at optimistics.io, and we have a blog page where you can scroll down and you can find the videos for Optimism Fractal here if you want to check out what we're doing, as well as some articles about our experience with starting it. And then there's introductory articles about the Optimism Collective, where we did videos where you can learn more about these opportunities, as well as we made videos about us making these grant proposals as well for Optimism Fractal. So these provide a lot of resources where you can learn more about both optimism and the experience of going through the one of the processes, or actually 2 of the processes, because so far we made grant council proposal as well as retro PGF proposals. So there's videos and a lot of information you can learn here. And then one other thing I'll mention too is there was recently, they just announced this week, a new competition called We Heart the Art, which it's different kind of funding sources basically for artists who are creating on-chain art, like creating NFTs for music or for art that they make with AI, or there's a couple different categories, and they're giving out 1 million OP, which is worth about $1.5 million right now. So if you go to welovetheart.optimism.io or optimistics.io/welovetheart, then you can find some details about this. It's a really interesting, another funding opportunity. So feel free to check out those links. It's all optimistics.io or optimismfractal.com and optimism.io. And if you want to ask any questions to me, reach out or join our events every Monday at 17 UTC at optimismfractal.com, then you can find us there, and be happy to introduce you to lots of great builders who will help point you in the right direction, help you get funding from the Optimism Collective as well, and help you build whatever you're aiming to build.
All right, questions for Dan from anybody? Oh, good to see Joe's here. He needs to go to We Love the Art. What was it? We Heart the Art?
Yeah, the competition is called We Heart the Art, and then the website is called welovetheart.optimism.io, or I have an article about it, optimistics.io/welovetheart.
All right. Well, good to see Joe's here. He can apply for that.
Absolutely. Joe is an incredible artist, and I recommend people check out the tutorial for making AI music video that you made a couple months ago, Eric. That was super cool.
Well, and of course, Joe also built our 3D Center for Governance, building them with our process, by the way, putting all the fractal logos. So I think I've given them the Eden fractal logo, the Optimism, the Aqueduct, and Alien Worlds, I think. And I'm sure Joe will put the Uplift. That's we've already got an Uplift art in there. I don't know if that's the logo, but so we're busy putting logos to represent all the fractals in there, and then hopefully we'll be building fractal offices. Need to talk about that. Last questions for Dan? All right. Lisa, can we chat with you now?
I'll just say thanks so much, everybody. Great to see you, and see you all later. Feel free to reach out with any questions later. Thanks, Eric.
Unless Dan, you know any other sources of funding that they should look at that you want to bring up?
There's more to discuss. We discussed more Eden Fractal too. There's many other opportunities, but I suppose I also have to get going in like 8 minutes to that other meeting, and I have to get my presentation ready a little bit for that one too. So I'd be happy to join back again if you host another one of these workshops to discuss more. And in the meantime,
we will. I have more.
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Well, if there's one person that I would pick out being the most active person I've ever seen in helping people figure out what they want and get any kind of support for it, whether it's teammates or Trillium or notoriety or distribution, it's Lisa Chandler. So, and Lisa has been here since the beginning of this whole Alien Worlds and Ike world. So what's the best way to talk the process of people going and saying, I think I might have an idea. How do I get support? What would you advise them, Lisa?
That's a good question. In part, it depends on what social media platform they're comfortable with. A lot of us are in Telegram. Some people are in Discord. Some people are on Twitter. Some people show up in Zoom like this from the calendar, from one of those socials. So if you can find people who are already playing, it's a good way to find out what else is going on and when you can show up for conversations or what chat to watch where people are talking about different ideas. And then there's a lot of places to check to see what's being proposed and by custodians and accepted by 3 or more on each planet, for example. I posted some of those in the Interplanetary Conference Telegram group, such as alienw.com. And also, of course, play.alienworlds.io, which is the interface where people vote for custodians. So that being said, if you find a custodian, there's several on the call, you can ask them what they're looking to support on the planet and to help create. So in my case, currently, I am a custodian on Planet Ike, and we're supporting building the community-built metaverse, which is a charge put forth on the alienworlds.io website for the game. So we get little instruction about what to do in the game except to create entertaining experiences for the players, which, you know, some people take as trolling, but we like to take as supporting people in creating whatever they can imagine that metaverse would be. And so that's a whole spectrum from events and things related to things they know, such as the mining events, to new things like how are we going to create buildings on the lands, and then all sorts of different activities, such as, you know, some people want to focus on good governance practices and how are we going to govern these planets as we arrive. And some people are more focused on, you know, the science and the physics of the land and can people even breathe, you know, and others are saying, where's the pizza shop? So there's a whole spectrum of imagination about what should be on a planet and how easy it is. And it's certainly fun when more and more people can get involved in any particular thing. So with Trillium being a game token, it's helpful to have that to reward, for different actions that people can do. And so that's one mechanism to create in the metaverse, is to think, well, what would I do in real life, or what would interest me, and to add an imaginary version of that to the metaverse and reward people with Trillium for engaging with it with various actions. So I think about that, and yeah.
So let's start with that first idea you brought up, which is find a custodian and either talk with them, figure out what they want. That was always my thing, is when I dealt with the government, is figure out what they want and then give it to them. That was always the big thing. Or convince them with their idea in the first place was actually another thing. You ask a question, oh, that's a good idea you just had here. So but if I was going to approach a custodian, what kind of questions should I be prepared to answer, and in what order? When I say, oh, I've got this
what is your planet funding, I think. Yeah.
What kind of question would I expect a custodian would want answered, and in what order, about my proposal?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure everyone has a slightly different take on that, but generally it's, what do you want to do? When do you want to do it? And how much Trillium do you need? I'd also consider how much of that is for rewards and, for the players. Like, let's say you're building a game or a event or some player experience of sorts, or a website where people earn rewards. What portion of that is going to be rewards, and then where's it going to go? That's another common one we encounter that people don't always think of until the last minute. But what account, like, it's very helpful if it's in its own account, because then people can track what's happening with that activity or that community. Let's say it's a community doing something, that might be also a case. So if there's rewards for building things, and there's rewards for player, rewards for engaging in actions, those are really two different play paths, but sometimes it's helpful to have two wallets in that case. So you can say, okay, we're going to pay the team these rewards out of this wallet, and we're going to do the player rewards out of this. So it's really easy to track. So, think those things through, and, kind of like, how are those rewards going to get out? I find it helpful to engage EOS USA when I need something, especially if it's a little more complicated or ongoing, to send out rewards regularly, or you can have smart contracts built, to do that if you're familiar with someone who can do that or know how to do it yourself.
So when you answer the question that says, what do you want to do? Mm-hmm. That's a good question. Would it be fitting to say, what outcome are you trying to make? Like, make people happier, reduce this, make it easier? I mean, that's a pretty big question. What do you want to do? And if somebody starts saying, oh, I want to take NFTs and put it in this blockchain and then move it over, then that's not really good explanation. I think more important, maybe first, is, why should we do this? What problem are you solving? What outcome? If we do this, how's the world going to change? Is it going to be happier, cheaper, more efficient? I think that might be something to focus on. What do you want to do? The second thing is kind of like, well, how are you going to do it? Who is this? Is this Lisa and Rosemary and Budasol working with Joe and Lucas? I mean, who's doing this? And then I think another thing may be, and what do you need to be able to make that? For this group to achieve that outcome, what do you need? And how often and how long?
Yeah, and that does depend planet to planet. On Ike lately, we've been into launching things, like figuring out how to get, how do we help people achieve their vision, and then in a way that it can become self-sustaining, so it doesn't always require ongoing support from the planet, or maybe phases. There's been a lot of cases where people have ideas but aren't completely sure how to do it, but they want to spend some time on it. And so there will be like a proposal for a plan. And then next to the, after that, there might be a proposal for scoping. And then if they want to actually build something or have some milestones, then come back for that. But it's, people are very busy and they have a lot on their mind, and it's very vague and confusing what we're doing. And so sometimes it takes a long time for people to get things done. Our rewards aren't $1 million, each. And collectively, I hear they are. I just saw a report. I haven't checked it, but so I think it's really like if we want people to build in the metaverse when it's early and when it's what we call winter, where the rewards aren't great, but they're there and they're enough to inspire us to do things, then the more we can do and consider how that could grow in the future and how we can help expand, bring more people in and bring more collaborations and potentially even more resources in. It's pretty exciting to think that we can build these, imaginary but real things that can support people in various ways around the world, and that don't just rely on price going up, which is always nice. Well, not always, but usually nice. And but just to know we can create value too, and that is rewarding in many ways.
You brought up a good point. Depending on how much risk you're doing, if it's something no one's done before, there's some question in the minds of how do we know this is going to work? So if you can break it down to something small and prove that works, you can go get money later. So, if you're asking for a lot of money and there's only a little available, you might want to break it down. If you're doing something really complicated that's tough to understand, we might want to break it down. If you're doing something that people don't even know it's going to work, you might prove something works and break it down. So that's a good point on dealing with. So this is true for any planetary custodian. Where can people get support right now? If somebody has an idea, what are do you go to Discord? Do you go to Telegram? Is there certain, hopefully we're going to have more like this, but where do you go to
Right. If you're in Telegram, feel free to stop by Planet Ike, EYEKE. I also posted some of the resources in Interplanetarian Conference. You can visit and see. And then you can also visit planetike.com. We're adding a lot of resources about what we've recently done there in the coming weeks.
But they could say, I've got this idea, like the chat. Can I talk to somebody about it? That would be a good place even to do that. So you don't have to be a genius. If you got an idea, people can help you develop.
Well, if you already know what you want to do, or if you've moved through a bit and understand what, have a sense of what you might want to do, there is a community form that can be filled out. There's a version at alienw.com in the community ideas section. It's not the only one, but it's one way of reaching out to people. But I'd also find custodians in Telegram or Discord, especially, and reach out and say hi in the communities. And
Okay, well, we also have a shrimp baguette, a great source of information. Are you able to talk, Shrimp?
Hello. I think
Yeah. Yes, so
yay.
Tell us
All
how
right.
the intersection of ideas and support, where do you see that? Where does that happen? And where else can I go?
Right. I mean, Lisa is obviously more or less filling the same role as I am. I'm a planetary custodian. Currently, I'm on Naron and Veles. So basically, what we are looking for is people who want to expand the Alien Worlds metaverse, right, and then create long-term value towards Alien Worlds. Like, it's great if someone wants to do an event that lasts, I don't know, 2 months, but that doesn't really help us next year, right? And then the trillium for that is gone. So I prefer stuff that is there for a longer time frame, that will be there for multiple years, right? At the same time, and that is very difficult, we prefer stuff that is focused on alien worlds, right? So we see some other games just wanting to do something like a prize pool in Trillium, and then that is great, and I'm sure it gets some attention to alien worlds. But on the other hand, that is also not really useful to alien worlds for anything besides that, right? So we want new projects, new games, new tools that focus on alien worlds and will be there for a long time. And I kind of think the reason why this is difficult is players want to play a game, maybe get some rewards or have fun in the game, right? And at the same time, obviously, developers need to be paid. So the developers can get obviously initial funding from the DAOs or GHubs or any other source. But at the end, they need to find a way how they can keep their own interest in further developing this game, this tool, this project, whatever. So it needs to become self-sustainable. And this is something that Lisa said as well. Like, what are the long-term goals? People need to think about that. How can I make my project sustainable? Yeah, so right. What are
Hey,
we
how are
looking
you?
for?
Good.
Hello. Yeah, so what are we looking for? Like people who build projects that utilize Alien Worlds NFTs. You know, there are some NFTs in Alien Worlds, like the ones on the Binance Smart Chain, or some other ones on Wax that are still not utilized in any project at all. And obviously, it would be great to see some utility for these, right? In the community projects, and obviously, TLM utility is amazing as well. And with utility, I don't really mean that it is simply used as a currency, but it needs to be kind of bound or burned somewhere. That would be great. Yeah, but other than that, obviously, if it's game, it should be fun. That would be great. Like keeping players in the Alien Worlds metaverse. And there's so much stuff. If you see a problem in Alien Worlds, maybe with onboarding or underutilized NFTs or whatever, and you have a solution for that, and you think of it, you write it down, it doesn't have to be a super detailed white paper, but you need to have a clear vision of what you want to do. Just come to us, right? We won't bite. And even if your idea is not super detailed, just talk to us. Talk to us. Give us like an elevator pitch of what your idea is, and we will tell you, oh, I don't think that is worth looking further into. Or we might say something like, yeah, have you thought about that? And give some suggestions and ask the person to write a more detailed paper about this, and then come to us and tell us what they need.
So
Right.
where do I sign up to give an elevator pitch? Where do I do that? How do
You
I
can do that right now. You've got 5 minutes, go.
I just meant for
No.
the average person that's looking for that. How do they connect with? I mean, for example, Lisa said Planet Ike, Telegram.
Yeah, I
Good.
mean, you can come there for us as well. If you post there, we will read it. No,
I'm just saying,
but
where else might
I
they
mean,
go?
we are in the Planet Naron and Planet Velas telegrams. We are in the you can come to the official Alien Worlds telegram. You can come to the official Alien Worlds Discord. You come to the Mission Control Discord. We are pretty much everywhere. We will see you, right? And also, you can, like, if you see a shrimp baguette somewhere, there's a high chance it's me. Just send me a DM, right?
Awesome.
And that would be great. In all honesty, like we see a lot of discussions about, oh, this is wrong in Alien Worlds. This is not going in the right direction. And and this is good. Like localizing a problem is good, right? But after some time, we need to stop talking and start doing, start building, start changing something, and that can't only be achieved by talking. So we need people who say, all right, this is my thing. This is gonna be my topic. I'm gonna do that. And maybe I don't have the experience yet, but maybe I will find someone who works with me on that, who has the experience, or I will gather a team around me, or maybe even I'm just gonna be the project manager, and I will find a company who does it and get some like a subcontractor, right? But we need those people who are basically the project owners who want to take ownership, long-term ownership of a project and say, I want to do this. And I'm gonna keep doing it. And I've got a plan and I want to follow it through. And this is really, really rare. Like
And those
if
channels will help that person find partners if they need them. So they don't have to show up fully saying, I've got my ID fully fleshed out, I've got my team. It's great if they do, but if they
it's
just
awesome if they do. Like,
but if they just say, I just really passionate about solving that problem, joining those discussions, they can find others to help and people to help them flesh out their ideas. And so they don't have to be afraid if they pitch you one 5-minute pitch and it's not right, they're not banned for life, they can never pitch again.
Actually, sorry to
drawing.
interrupt. I think it's quite the opposite. Actually, you don't even have to have an idea. You don't have to have a pitch. I think we have enough ideas or left open that need someone who just builds them. So if
That
it's
is
just
true.
some developer comes here and says, hey, I don't have that much experience in Wax, but I've been in that and that blockchain. I want to learn Wax. Can you give me an idea that I can just execute?
Right.
That would
This
also
is, by
work.
the
You
way,
don't have to have an idea.
that is true. This is, by the way, Pestilencia, also a custodian on Naron and Veles, together with me.
Thanks for the introduction.
However, while I agree with you, it is important that we don't want people who do just like a contract work, right? If someone comes and says, yeah, I'm gonna build this, and then he gets paid and then he leaves, that's not gonna help anyone. Then there is a product that will never get developed further. So someone needs to take ownership of that, and that is very important. But yeah, if that person, like you said, Pesti, is a person who wants to take ownership, awesome, great, right? Yeah. Also, we have this Git book, like a very small Git book for proposal submission. I think it's more or less also the same on alienw.com, a proposal template where you should think about what is your business model, what is the problem you're trying to solve and stuff like that. So if you have the answers to that already, awesome. Yeah, I think I've been talking way too long.
No, it's been absolutely great stuff, and I didn't have to ask a lot of questions because you just came out with great answers with every sentence. So appreciate you being here. So we kind of started this because of a time schedule, going outside of Alien World to say what's out there, and then we talk about the planets, and we go in there. Let's talk about one planet in particular, because there's something there. There's budget for the IKE Community Council. Lisa, could you tell us how can the IKE Community Council help somebody with a proposal or an idea?
The IKE Community Council is 18 committees, and there's generally approximately 5 people per committee. There's a community manager and then committee members. And each council has an amount of Trillium that they can allocate toward a project each month. Currently, it's $4,000 a month in addition to what they earn for being on the council. And it is harder than it seems to allocate Trillium with what to do, because requires people to have ideas about what to do and think it through and convince each other, have those discussions and come to consensus, which is, as we know, a whole process. And I mean, we collectively know a lot of people working out ways of doing that. And so this is yet another experiment, 18 experiments of how to do that. And so it's changed a little bit. This is our second quarter now. And I imagine for the third quarter, it will change again, which begins January 2024. So there will be election the end of December for that quarter. But meanwhile, if you go in Telegram, it's a Telegram group, but if you go to Ike Council, EYEKECOUNCIL, and search for hashtag start here, I believe you'll get the document. If not, check the pinned. There's an Ike Council document. You can read. It's a live history actively being added to about what is happening and what the allocations are for. And we published articles on Planet Ike Medium as well about the progress. So we just today are getting updates mid-quarter. So we'll do that shortly after they're all in today. If people are interested in either proposing something for December or in the future, they can go into the Ike Council Telegram group to the committee of their choice and engage in discussion about it and ask the community manager if they would consider supporting it. The committees can also ask the Planet custodians, of course, just like anyone else, to support the projects as well. In addition, one just requested that today, for example. So it's nice to have that extra, consideration and support from a committee, as to vouch for something as a custodian, and it helps to share. Some of the committees are doing things together, such as welcoming and marketing for the upcoming Comic-Con Birmingham event. So there's a lot of things going on, and sometimes it's apparent, sometimes it's happening in different conversations, but there's a communications committee to work on sharing the news about things as well. But I would find if one wanted to see what's going on and pursue discussion, I would go into the Ike Council Telegram group and see where they feel comfortable and make
just
self
for
at home.
example, the Ike Council Governance Committee is interested in helping people write proposals. So any proposal to help people write proposals, we're funding that right now. We're building meetingscapes for people to meet. So we're looking at that. We're also interested in setting up actual help people make decisions, governance tools and things like that. So we're working with tool development and teaching people to use those tools, but open to anything that helps with governance, people understanding governance, making decisions and implementing governance, getting together to talk about governance, things like that. So that's just one example. So we've talked about outside of alien worlds. We've talked about the planets, starting with them. We've now talked about some committees in there. What else? What have we left out? Anybody? Where can you go? Galactic Hubs, Wax Labs. Tell us more about anything anybody.
Well, Wax Labs is similar to Galactic Hubs. Wax Labs is for wax and Galactic Hubs is for Trillium, right? So Wax Labs is, I believe, run by the company that runs the Wax Cloud Wallet and the Wax blockchain as we engage with it. And they support tools on Wax and supporting the Wax blockchain. And so you can search and find it, or there's a link in the Interplanetarian Conference group, but you can go apply. And I believe your application is public once you apply and people can vote on it. So consider that. And there are a lot of people, there's a group, Wax Unofficial. It's the most official, but it's called Unofficial. And it's, are you? Okay, great. Yeah, Gudasal, do you want to jump in about Wax Labs? That would be better if you're funded by that. You tell everyone.
I just realized I was unmuted. I apologize if there's background noise. But
no.
yeah, so Wax Labs, it basically can fund any public goods that's built for Wax blockchain. They have a really nice system. They actually, I think you have to pay like 100 Wax to submit if that's still in their new system. So that's kind of nice because it actually limits the proposals. Like it's a few dollars, but it still helps to filter things out. And the basic flow is you produce or you write a proposal with deliverables. The deliverables are funded. So it's really good for small to medium projects who are struggling to find funding for development. If they can somehow construe that in a way that other projects can use it. For example, I was funded to develop NFT standards, which I am using for my own project, but also, you know, they benefit anybody can use the standards. So it was a really nice thing for me, as well as it helps me to feel more like official on the Wax chain. And if anyone wants to reach out with me or has any other specific questions, I'm here, or on Telegram, God's Soul is Love. But yeah, definitely recommend Wax Labs.
Cool.
And how about Galactic Hubs? How do they get there? This is for Lisa.
Galactic Hubs or G Hubs, you can search, and I've also posted that in Interplanetarian Conference. And that is very similar to a planet proposal. There's a lot of information on their website about what they're looking for and what they're willing to support. And I believe Evan said that there is a round open through the end of the year. So I would get it in as soon as you can. And I believe he mentioned there will be bigger pools open for 2024 as well. So I believe they also entertain milestone-based proposals. So let's say you have an idea of what you want to do like each quarter next year. You might say, here's, you know, what we want to see achieved each quarter or something like that. And they might look at doing something like that with you, but they'll tell you, they'll work with you. You can submit something and they'll come back and discuss it with you, typically, from what I've heard. So it's a completely separate pool of Trillium for Galactic Hubs. So it's set up similarly to the planets in terms of there's a pool, like for each planet, there's a pool for Galactic Hubs. So, but that's administered by the company, Dakoko, that runs Alien Worlds. So Evan is the coordinator there, but there's a lot of information about background and, you know, what they're looking for and how to submit on their website for Galactic Hubs. So you can search Galactic Hubs Alien Worlds. Did someone want to jump in? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just to add to this, like it could make sense. Like you can contact a planetary DAO. Like you can contact us, and if your idea is maybe too big for the DAO, or maybe even if it isn't, but it can make sense. You come to us and we tell you, you know what, you should apply for G Hubs grant as well, right?
Yeah.
Then you can maybe expand your idea or make it quicker or whatever. They can also help with marketing your project once it's done, stuff like this. So it can be very useful to have a G Hubs grant, even if it's not about the money.
That's right. And it's one of the ways you can get permission to use the official NFTs. So like Shrimp was saying, it's nice to have projects that are using the Alien Worlds NFTs. And one of the ways that you can get permission to do that is by getting awarded an Galactic Hubs grant. It comes with that permission if that's what you've proposed. So that's fun. And it also comes, I believe, with some logo promotions. So and you know, like Jim said, you can promote in the different Alien Worlds communication channels, and they typically will share it in their email list and their newsletters and so forth. So which for projects looking, yeah.
Also, if it's a game, they have this what is it called, the game arena or just arena inside play.alienworlds.io. So if you get a G Hubs grant and it's a game, I think it will also be listed there, which is great because all the players of Alien Worlds will find your project.
Yeah, I know, it's real. Also, Galactic Hubs mentions that often they'll do 30% for player rewards and 70% for building. And I'm sure it's, you know, custom in each case of what someone would want or need, but that is helpful, I know, because obviously it, you know, we're dealing with relatively little to build a lot when we're talking about games compared to what a lot of game creators do in the world. But then again, there are, as we're seeing, there are ways and examples of that happening, and people building games or adapting games to be part of the Alien Worlds metaverse. And so, you know, having a model like that for when applying to Galactic Hubs is helpful to consider, you know, okay, how much are we going to be able to give out to players, and for what play actions and what frequency and what limits and things like that. So that helps if you're trying to figure out how to get started and allocate things. It's nice to have some models like that.
Okay, so outside of Alien Worlds, we talked about optimism. We've talked about Wax Labs. Inside Alien, we talked about Galactic Hubs, starting there down to the planets, the planetary counselors on Ike. There's a council, so council has some budget to spend. So there's a lot of options, and one of the points that Shrimp brought up is you don't have to limit yourself to applying to just one source. You can apply to lots of sources. So we're kind of running out of time, but I'll kind of leave it by asking one question. I'll tell you mine.
Can I have one thing before you
Sure.
say it? All right. Just if you apply to multiple sources, be transparent about it. Like, okay.
It's not sneaky, not sneaky. Yeah, especially if you got a grant from one, that can help you get more money, saying, this is where we want to go. I got this much. You can help us get the way. If somebody already believes in you, that's always a good source. Well, my favorite proposal, I'm going to ask everybody what their favorite proposal they've seen is. This is just for fun. Of course, I'm doing governance. So for me, the governance tool, which beat on the intergalactic unconference hackathon. So good job for governance, and anything that adds governance to dynamics of hegemony, I'm a fan for. Gudasol, you've done a lot of proposals yourself, and you've seen a lot through Aqueduct. What's your favorite proposal that you've seen, just real quickly?
I haven't actually looked at a lot of proposals lately. I was actually thinking of going, at least on Wax Labs, to check it out. I'm not very involved in Alien Worlds. But I would say, like, I'm partial towards metadata, and I'm partial towards developer education and developer onboarding. One of my big contentions that I'm constantly bugging Aaron Cox and Nathan James about is I don't think that the project or the onboarding of devs is hands-on enough, and it completely misses practical use cases. So yeah, standards and developer education.
Perfect. Shrimp Baguette, your personal favorite proposals.
I will not take my personal, because I'm a bit biased because I have a project of my own. All right. So I will just pick one which really positively surprised me recently, and that was a proposal for a tower defense game that two developers are currently building that will incorporate Alien Worlds NFTs. So if you stake your Alien Worlds NFTs, you will unlock some special towers of a certain race and stuff like this. And they're actually building this on Steam, so for Steam. So you will not need a wallet in the beginning, and they will slowly onboard you to Wax, basically. And that is an amazing idea. Like, I love it.
I love that too. Onboarding, make it easy. Small steps. Don't make somebody jump off a cliff to have to learn cliff diving to get in. Have them just step into the water. Love it. Pestilentia. Anything you want to share? Your favorite proposal or anything?
Well, it's quite a diverse field of proposals that have been there over the time, and although, as with Shrimp Baguette, I won't mention my project. So what surprises me is all the time how many different fields there are where you need proposals for, because as we said, the purpose of the DAOs in Alien Worlds somehow is to create the metaverse, but there even is a level above that you are first have to create the tools to be able to create. Like that Alien W page where we first got all the information together in one place concerning the DAOs, like what proposals are there, how many votes does each planet have, and so on. It all wasn't there. It all had to be built first, and the idea to do this was very good in my opinion.
Awesome. Jungle Trekker, anything you want to add?
I've actually been impressed with all the proposals, really. It's just great to see all the creativity and people, thoughtfulness and willing to collaborate. And the Center for Governance, I think, is great. And we keep talking about a way to consolidate lore and a library API maybe and different things. So I'm just really happy to be here and glad you can host this, and thank Lisa and everybody else for keeping doing what you do.
Thank you. Lisa, favorite proposal? I know that's going to be.
I know.
I know for you, it's anything that helps people spend Trillium. I know fun Trillium is a big for you, but
it's very, very difficult to pick one Alien Worlds proposal. It's easy if it's one of all time, but of Alien Worlds, it's really hard, right? Like my first inclination is Interplanetarian Conference, because aside from it being highly controversial, it was a way to bring a lot of people together and bring new developers in, and even though it's like an experiment of it still did it. So it's like, okay, if we can do it, we can scale it, right? So if we want to, but there's something about not scaling it that allowed for that personal contact. So, but I also have to say, there's several, but the Element smart contract, there's a, for planning that, has been just life-changing. It's given us a chance to talk to different people, like smart contract and web and project and community members, about adding buildings to the lands and connecting anything to the lands, and anyone could do it, right? But it just having a lot of community discussions about what that would and could look like and how it would fit in with like the culture and the lore and different planets, and be an open source technology that others could use, and how we would address design and just all aspects of it. Like just even going through that plan has been so rewarding. And I know sometimes people will be in social, like, we should hear about everything and we should know everything. And it's like, well, we're kind of going through it. So as soon as we get through it, we'll share. But at the same time, I'd also say recently, I've been working on the project section of the Planet IQ website, and it's been really great it's a lot of work, but it's been great it's like a privilege really, but to be able to add the different ways we can see and track what we've done and what we're going to be doing in the future, and give people a way to play the paths that are available through those proposals. So to me, that's really fun and exciting. But I could go on about each of the proposals. If I was going to say one of all time, though, I have to say it's the creation of the Crown Constitution, because it was the first time I and many of us understood what any of that meant at all in the slightest. And it was a whole process of a bunch of people to talk through ideas we hadn't really collectively done, or in many cases individually done before, to come up with a perspective of things. And it was pretty funny because the first week I was a custodian, was actually on Velas. I thought, okay, let's work on the Constitution. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? We're taking the Trillium. It was funny. So it was, but I have maybe a slightly warped view, like that we're, we create these tools and experiences for collectively governing, but at the same time, I'm extremely grateful. And if I hadn't had that foundation, from Max and Dwayne and, and also simultaneously from Michael Yates and Rob and Sarah, with EOS Stack, the tools we were using, I think many of us wouldn't be here today. So that was a fundamental proposal historically.
Very good. Lucas, favorite proposal?
I cannot ping out a proposal right now. Thank you very much.
Okay, Joe, besides the proposal you took to build the Center for Governance 3D space, what is your favorite proposal?
I'm going to go with what Lisa said as well, the unconference thing, because it was just an enigma to me in the beginning. I was like, what is this? And it slowly built, and I wasn't sure where it was going. And at the end, there was like 32 different really amazing entries. There was a lot of support. It was really awesome to see it all come together. And like I said, it was a little abstract for me to begin with. And then just to watch it all come together and, seeing the far-flung group of alien worlds, players, explorers, whatever nomenclature you use, everyone kind of is separate. They have little pockets of their groups and their different things. And this thing really brought all those small groups together. I noticed, unlike anything, I learned about a lot of different facets within the ecosystem that I didn't know about, and I've been really involved. And so that to me was probably the best proposal and had the best results from what I've seen, I think.
No doubt. 33 hackathon entries just in the hackathon. The other stuff's going on, just 33 hackathon entries.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was very impressed, and then it sounds like it's going to lead to future improvements in hackathons and all that. So I think when the founders came on and were like, hey, thanks for doing this. We wanted this to happen, but we didn't want to prod everybody. And we're so happy that the community did it. I don't think you can get much more of a, resounding, appreciation than the actual founders of the metaverse saying, thank you for doing this. So, yeah.
That was awesome.
Very good. Well, thank you everybody for being here. Hopefully we'll do it again sometime. Those that want to see this and share this, it'll be up on the Center for Governance site, which is governance.super.site. It will be in the IKE Council Governance Committee and in the Interplanetary Unconference and wherever else you want to share it. But what we've learned, the most important thing is there's a lot of people making a difference, and so can you. So thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.